Welcome everyone to Bookaccino Live, our program for Wednesday, May 14th. I can't believe it's May already. We're almost halfway through the year, and we have a huge lineup of books today. I think we've got 55 books we're going to be talking to you about. A quick reminder for those of you who are live, if you could jump in the chat and tell us who you are and where you're from and what you're reading. And if you have any questions for us during the presentation, please drop those in the Q&A. And here we go to get started. First, we're going to go to what your favorite books were last month and after last presentation. First, we've got Frederick Bachman's My Friends. Then we've got The Page Turner by Viola Shipman. The Maid's Secret by Nita Prose. Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Don't Let Him In by Lisa Jewell. Wally Lamb's The River is Waiting. And Alka Joshi's 6 Days in Bombay. So those were your top picks. We always like to see this. So make sure you're keeping notes on to tell us what your books are most interested in reading, because we really do take this seriously when we're planning our coverage. So we're going to begin with fiction. I'm going to start out with Ocean Vuong's The Emperor of Gladness. This is Oprah's latest book club pick. I believe she picked it yesterday or the day before. So here's what it's about. One late summer evening in the post-industrial town of East Gladness, Connecticut, 19-year-old High stands on the edge of a bridge in pelting rain, ready to jump, when he hears someone shout across the river. The voice belongs to Grazina, an elderly widow succumbing to dementia, who convinces him to take another path. Bereft and out of options, he quickly becomes her caretaker. Over the course of the unlikely pair develop a life-altering bond, and the two of them, one built on empathy, spiritual recognition, and reckoning and heartbreak, with the power to transform High's relationship to himself, his family, and a community on the brink. So this is also by the author of On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous. Next, we've got Run for the Hills by Kevin Wilson, also on sale this week. Ever since her dad left them 20 years ago, it's been just Madeline Hill and her mom on their farm in Coalfield, Tennessee. It's a bit lonely and less exciting life than what she imagined for herself. It's mostly okay. Then one day, Reuben Hill pulls up in a PT Cruiser and informs Madeline that he believes she's his half-sister. Reuben, who's left behind by their dad 30 years ago, has hired a detective to track down their father and a string of other half-siblings. And he wants Madeline to leave her home and join him for the craziest kind of road trip imaginable, to find them all. As Madeline, Reuben, and eventually the others share stories of their father, who behaved so differently in each life he created, they begin to question what he was looking for with each and every new incarnation. So there you go, Run for the Hills. Incarnation. Oh, gosh, I'm doing really well today. Next, we've got Sleep by Honor Jones. It's also on sale this week. 10-year-old Margaret hides beneath a blackberry bush in her family's verdant backyard, while her brother hunts for her in a game of flashlight tag. Family life requires careful maintenance. Her mother can be brittle and exacting as she is loving. Her father and brother assume familiar, if uncomfortable, models of masculinity. And then late one summer, everything changes. After a series of confusing transgressions, the simple pleasures of girlhood slip away. 25 years later, Margaret hides under her parents' bed, waiting for her young daughters to find her in a game of hide and seek. She's newly divorced and navigating her life as a co-parent, while discovering the pleasures of a new lover. But some part of her is still under the blackberry bush, punched out of time. There we've got Sleep by Honor Jones. And Ann Patchett says this is incredibly moving. Next, we've got Speak to Me of Home by Janine Cummins, and you remember her as the #1 New York Times bestselling author of American Dirt. On her wedding day in San Juan, Puerto Rico, in 1968, Rafaela Acuna de Dumont has mild misgivings, but she married Peter Brennan Jr. anyway, in a blaze of romantic optimism. She has no way of knowing how dramatically her life will change when she uproots her young family to start over in the American Midwest, unleashing a fleet of disappointments. In the 1980s, against the backdrop of her mother's isolation in St. Louis, Missouri, Rafaela's daughter Ruth only wants to belong. Eager to fit in, Ruth lets go of her language, habits, and childhood memories of Puerto Rico. It's not until decades later, when Ruth's own daughter Daisy returns to San Juan, that her mother and grandmother begin to truly reflect on the choices that have come to define their lives. I read this. It's absolutely terrific. It's a bets on selection. There's a great chart at the beginning where you see who all the family members are. And I have to admit, I needed that at the beginning to keep everybody straight. It's a current word of mouth selection, and I will tell you a little bit more about that later in the presentation. And I'm looking forward to talking to Janine in the next couple of weeks and doing an interview with her. It's just a very special kind of a book because it's really trailing a family story. And also, a lot of it is based on her own life and what her thoughts were about her grandmother that she used as inspiration. Next, we've got Aftertaste. What if you could have one last meal with someone you lost? Think of that as a premise. By Daria Lavelle, and it's coming out next week, and it is such an interesting idea. Constantine's father died when he was 10, and ghosts have been hovering around him ever since. Kostya can't exactly see the ghosts, but he can taste their favorite foods. Flavors of meals he's never eaten will flood his mouth, a sign that his spirit is present. He's kept these aftertastes a secret for most of his life, but one night he decides to act on what he's tasting. He discovers that he can reunite people with their deceased loved ones, at least for the length of time it takes for them to eat a dish that he's prepared. But as his kitchen skills catch up with his ambitions, he's too blind to see the catastrophe forming in the afterlife. And one person who knows him must be stopped also happens to be falling in love with him. So there we've got Aftertaste. And I think about the meals I might want to share with those that have gone before me and what they would be. And it's a very interesting premise. Next, from Catherine Center, we've got The Lovehaters, coming on May 20th. Katie Vaughn has been burned by love in the past. Now she may be lighting her career on fire. She has two choices: wait to get laid off from their job as video producer, or at her co-worker Cole's request, take a career-making gig profiling Tom Hutchison, a Coast Guard rescue swimmer in Key West. The catch? Katie's not exactly qualified. She can't swim, but she pretends she can. You can imagine how that's going to go. Plus, Cole and Hutch are brothers, and they don't get along. As Katie gets entangled with Hutch, the most scientifically good-looking man she's ever seen, but maybe a bit of a love hater, along with his colorful Aunt Rue and his rescue Great Dane, she gets trapped in a lie. Or two. Swim lessons, helicopter flights, conga lessons, drinking contests, hurricanes, stolen kisses ensue, along with chances to tell the truth, face old fears, and be truly brave at last. So there we've got The Lovehaters. From Christy Woodson Harvey, we've got Beach House Rules, coming on May 27th. When Charlotte Sitterly's husband is arrested for a white-collar crime, she and her daughter Iris are locked out of their house by the FBI and thrust into the spotlight of Juniper Shore's socialite, the town snarky anonymous Instagram account. Cut off from her bank accounts and feeling desperate, Charlotte takes up an acquaintance's offer to stay at the beachfront former bed and breakfast that's home to a community of single mothers, and draws plenty of gossip in the small coastal North Carolina town. Charlotte and Iris found solace and are surprised at how much fun they're having with the other families, despite their circumstances. But when the women discover a secret link between them, it changes everything they thought they knew about the unconventional family they've created, and leaves them wondering if their coming together was a coincidence at all. This is one of our summer reading titles. You know, those are books that go up in our contest selections for just 24 hours. So you want to keep your eye on for the contest for this one. Next, we've got Lori Foster's The Guest Cottage. This is coming on May 27th, and we're going to be doing a summer reading contest about this. And we're also going to be doing a special feature where you have a chance to win one of 25 books, and then share with us what your thoughts about the book. So you want to keep your eyes up for that contest starting. Marlo Heddings is starting over. She's carried the outrage of her husband Dylan's affair with a younger woman and the expectations of his family's powerful Chicago holdings company long enough. And now, after another devastating twist of fate, she's unapologetically moving on. Arriving in tiny Bramville, Kentucky, Marlo revels in her freedom, swapping her executive suits for sundresses. and scouting places to open her dream boutique. Best of all was her new residence, an adorable cottage with gorgeous lake views and a breathtaking landlord, former is it more Marine Corporal? I'm sorry, Marine Court Easton. I'm thinking that was some kind of a special Marine title. Really not doing well. Soon they're all sharing dockside morning coffee and nighttime firefly gazing. Marlowe's new life begins to feel like a dream. And then Pixie Nolan arrives on her doorstep with a shocking secret. So there we've got the Guest Cottage, and it's a Firefly summer novel. So I think you'll be looking forward to this one. Next, we've got Mansion Beach coming from Meg Mitchell Moore, and it's coming on May 27th. It's the beginning of summer, and Nicola Carr has just arrived on Block Island, Rhode Island, eager for a fresh start and some R&R. Do you notice that people are getting out to a fresh start over the summer? You've got a certain pattern that's going on in these books. But her plans for a tranquil summer are derailed as the extravagant parties from the grand house next door pique her curiosity. She soon discovers that the home belongs to Juliana George, an enigmatic entrepreneur with a past shrouded in mystery. Juliana George, CEO and founder of a hot fashion tech company, is at the top of her game. She's spending the summer on Block Island preparing for a major IPO, but she's chasing her dreams in more ways than one. This summer, she hopes to rekindle a flame with a man from her past, a man who has a surprising connection to her neighbor, Nicola. So there we've got Mansion Beach. And it says, where the sand is warm, the mudslides are cold, and the wealthy are reckless. So there you go. That's what happens at Mansion Beach. Now we've got the Parisian chapter by Janet Skesley and Charles, and it's read by Pauline Charlemagne and a full cast. I'm including this. It is an audio original story, and I know how many of you have enjoyed Janet's books in the past, Paris Library, and wanting to sit there and say, well, what happened later in those books? This is an absolute terrific audio production. You've never listened to audio before, I highly recommend this one, and here's why. Each of the stories that are within this, or the storytelling, is broken up into chapters, and it's narrated by different people. So as you're going through, you're completely sure of where you are in the story, and the chapters are announced as they unfold, and they're told to you with the date as well. Sometimes in an audiobook, I know people can say, I can get lost. So this, if you've never dipped into audio, here's a great way to get in and give it a try, simply because Pauline is a terrific narrator, but so is the rest of the cast, and it makes it really fun. So what's the story? It's Paris in 1995, and it's been 5 years since Lily Jacobson and her best friend, Mary Louise, arrived from their small town of Freud, Montana. Determined to establish themselves as artists, Lily, a novelist, and Mary Louise, a painter, share a tiny 6'4" walk-up and survive on brie and baguettes. When Mary Louise abruptly moves out, Lily feels alone in the city of light for the first time, and she needs a new way to support herself. She lands a job as a program manager at the American Library in Paris, and we know that library well from Janet's books. Following in the footsteps of her French neighbor, Odile, who infused her childhood with tales of heroic World War II librarians. Here in the storied halls of the ALP, Lily meets an incredible cast of characters, each with their own stories and agendas. And you're also going to find out what is the connection now between what happened with Odile and her best friend years ago. Where's that story gone? I really am enjoying this. I think I've got 4 chapters left, which means each time I go back and forth to the gym, I'm listening. Next, we've got Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid, which is coming out on June 3rd. Joan Goodwin is content with her life as a professor of physics and astronomy at Rice University and as aunt to a precocious niece, Frances. That is, until she comes across an advertisement seeking the first women scientists to join NASA's space shuttle program. Suddenly, Joan burns to be one of the few people to go into space. Selected from a pool of thousands of applicants in the summer of 1980, Joan begins training at Houston's Johnson Space Center alongside an exceptional group of fellow candidates. As the new astronauts become unlikely friends and prepare for their first flights, Joan finds a passion and a love she never imagined. In this new light, she begins to question everything she thinks she knows about her place in the observable universe. And then in December 1984, on mission STS LR9, it all changes in an instant. So we know her as the author of Daisy Jones and the Six and The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. This Francesca on our team read this and absolutely loved it. We're going to an event that she's doing at Symphony Space on June 4th, and those in the New York area, maybe we could see you there as well. And she's got a tour that she's doing, and beyond that, she has got a virtual tour that she's doing where there are going to be events happening in bookstores like Thunder Road in New Jersey, where there'll be a whole series of events that will be happening, even though she will not be present. The author will not be present. So keep an eye on that. Next, we've got Just Beachy by Wendy Wax. And longtime readers of Wendy's know she writes one terrific beach read. It's on sale on June 3rd. After losing her longtime acting gig on the hit show Murder 101, Sydney Ryan decides she needs a break from Hollywood politics. She heads to Treasure Island, Florida, where her grandmother has been visiting and now refuses to leave. But Sydney's plan to lie low for a bit quickly goes awry as she's swept up in her grandmother's now flourishing social life. Grand is helping her neighbor Myra open a bookstore in Paso de Grail. But when someone breaks into Grand's house repeatedly, Sydney realizes that her grandmother is keeping something from her. Determined to ferret out the truth and protect her grandmother, Sydney enlists the help of 10 Beach Road ladies. We know these people. These are the people that have been in her earlier books. And Luke, a local police officer who was once her high school crush. While Sydney pushes her television crime-solving skills to the test, she decides to act on the sizzling chemistry between herself and Luke. And it's funny because a friend that from grammar school I saw on social media the other day was near at Paso de Grill, and I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe this is the place from the book. So she immediately wanted to know which books and which ones she should read. So it was incredibly fun. Next, we've got Notes on Infinity coming from Austin Taylor. It's on sale on June 3rd. Zoe, the daughter of an MIT professor who grew up in her brother's shadow, can envision her future anew at Harvard. Jack, a boy in Zoe's organic chemistry class with unruly hair and a gleam of competitiveness, matches her intellect and curiosity with every breath. When Jack refers Zoe to a position in a prestigious professor's lab, the two become entwined as colleagues, staying up late to discuss scientific ideas. They find themselves on the cusp of a breakthrough, the promise of immortality through a novel anti-aging drug. Zoe and Jack set off on their new project in secret. Finding encouraging results, they bring their work to an investor, drop out of Harvard, and form a startup. But after the money, the magazine covers, and the national news stories detailing their success, Zoe and Jack receive a startling accusation that threatens to destroy both the company they built and their partnership. So there's Notes on Infinity. Chris Whitaker said, it stole my breath and my heart. Next, we've got Park Avenue coming from Renee Hidea, which is coming on June 3rd. As a daughter of Korean bodega owners, Jia Song promised herself that she would have every Fifth Avenue luxury when she grew up. She's just made junior partner her prestigious Manhattan law firm, and she's about to score the ultra-luxe gold on gold Birkin bag of her dreams. So when her boss asked her to sit in on the hush-hush family implosion of a high-level client, she accepts without hesitation, only to find that it's one of the most famous Korean families in the world. The Park family's net worth is estimated at $1 billion, and their mega successful Korean beauty brand has shaped the culture for past 2 decades. But the patriarch is filing for divorce while his wife is dying, and their 3 children can't stop snapping at one another. With both family fortune and the legacy under threat from the worst kind of scandal, it's up to Gia to set things right, and she only has a month to do it. So there we've got Park Avenue. Just some historical fiction. We're going to cue it up with Where the Rivers Merge by Mary Alice Monroe. It's on sale this week. 1908, the low country of South Carolina is on the cusp of change. Mayfield, the grand estate held for generations by the Rivers family, is a treasured home of young Eliza. A free spirit, she refuses to be confined by the societal norms and spends her days exploring the vast property, observing wildlife and riding horses. But the Great War, coastal storms, and family turmoil bring unexpected challenges to Eliza, putting her on a collision course with the patriarchal traditions of a bygone era. Let's turn to 1988. At 88, Eliza is a scion of the Rivers Delancey family. She's fought a lifetime to save her beloved Mayfield and is too independent and committed to quietly retire and leave the fate of the estate to her greedy son. She must make decisions that will assure the future of the land and her family, or watch them both be split apart. So there we've got Where the Rivers Merge. Next, we've got The Girls of Good Fortune by Christina McMorris, and we know her as the best-selling author of Sold on a Monday. It's Oregon, it's 1888. In the subterranean labyrinth of Portland's notorious Shanghai tunnels, a woman awakens in an underground cell, drugged and disguised. Celia soon realizes that she's a Shanghai victim on the verge of being shipped off as forced labor. Although well accustomed to adapting for survival, being half Chinese, passing as white during an era fraught with anti-Chinese sentiment, she fears that far more than her own fate hangs in the balance. As she pieces together the twisting path that led to her abduction, from serving as a maid for a family of a dubious mayor to becoming entwined in the case of a gold miners' massacre, revelations emerge of a child left in peril. Desperate, Celia must find a way to escape and return to a place where unearthed secrets can prove deadlier than the dark recesses of Chinatown. There we've got Girls of Good Fortune. Next, it's The Martha's Vineyard, Beach and Book Club by Martha Hall Kelly. Yes, Martha Hall Kelly, the author of The Lilac Girls. It's coming on May 27th. 34-year-old Mary Starwood is still grieving after her mother's death as she travels to the storied island of Martha's Vineyard off the coast of Massachusetts. She's come all the way from California with nothing but a name on a piece of paper: Elizabeth Deadraw, the famous but reclusive vineyard painter. When Mary makes it to Mrs. Devereaux's stunning waterfront home under the guise of taking a painting class with her, Mrs. Devereaux begins to tell her the story of the Smith sisters who once lived there. As the tale unfolds, Mary is shocked to learn that her relationship to this island runs deeper than she ever thought possible. So there you go, the latest from Martha Hall Kelly. Next, we've got In the Family Way by Lainey Katz Becker. In 1965, American women can't have their own bank accounts, credit cards, or sign their own leases. Divorce is scandalous and difficult, and abortion is illegal. Just think about that, 1965. Every week, a group of suburban housewives meet for their Tuesday canasta game. As cards are being drawn and discarded, the women share advice and confidences. When prim and proper Lilyberg, a doctor's wife, discovers she's pregnant with their second child, she follows her friend Becca's suggestion and takes in Betsy, a pregnant teen from the local home for unwed mothers. Betsy, who's never met anyone Jewish before, is to live with the Bergs for 6 months, help with babysitting and housekeeping, have her own baby, and agree to never contact the family again. But things quickly get complicated. Lily has opened her home to the teenager, never planned on opening her heart, yet that's exactly what happens. So there you've got In the Family Way. Next, we've got The Listeners, coming from Maggie Stiefvater. And this is interesting because she's been writing YA for years, and this is her first adult book. It's coming on June 3rd. In January 1942, the Avalon Hotel and Spa has always offered elegant luxury in the wilds of West Virginia. Its mountain Sweetwater washing away all of high society's troubles. There is a place in the wilds of West Virginia called the Greenbrier, and it has a lot of these same things in it, just saying. Local girl turned general manager June Porter Hudson has guided the Avalon successfully through the first pangs of war. The Guilfoyles, the hotel's aristocratic owners, have trained her well. But when the family heir makes a secret deal with the State Department to fill the hotel with captured Axis diplomats, June must persuade her staff many of whom have sons and husbands headed to the front lines to order for luxury to Nazis with a smile. Meanwhile, FBI agent Tucker Minnick, whose coal tattoo hints at his Appalachian past, presses his ears to the hotel walls, listening for diplomat secrets. Well, he has one of his own, which is how he knows that June's balancing act can have dangerous consequences. The sweet water beneath the hotel can threaten as well heal. And what's really interesting is that down at the Greenbrier, when we were there was a tour of where people from the State Department actually did hide out and do high-level negotiations during World War II. We were there a couple of times. It was really fun to see that. Next, we've got Thrillers and Mysteries. We're going to start with Dark Maestro by Brendan Slocum, which is on sale this week. And you know him as the author of The Violin Conspiracy. Curtis Wilson is a cello prodigy, growing up in Southeast DC, projects with a drug dealer for a father. But through determination and talent and loving support of his father's girlfriend, Larissa, Curtis rises to unimagined heights in the classical music world. And then suddenly, his life disintegrates. His father's zippy turn states evidence implicating his old bosses. Now the family must enter the witness protection program if they want to survive. This means that Curtis must give up the very thing he loves most, sharing his extraordinary music with the world. When Zippy's bosses prove too elusive for law enforcement, Curtis, Zippy, and Larissa realize that their only chance of survival is to take on the criminals themselves. They must create new identities and draw on their unique talents, including Curtis's musical ability to go after the people who want them dead. Loved his first book. I am looking forward to reading this one. Carl Hyacin, also out this week, we've got Fever Beach. The afternoon of September 1st, dishwater gray and rainy, a man named Dale Figo picked up a hitchhiker on Gus Grissom Boulevard in Tangello Shores, Florida. The hitchhiker, who reminded Figo of Danny DeVito, asked for a lift to the interstate. Figo said he'd take him there after finishing an errand. And thus begins Fever Beach, with an errand that leads in pure Carl Hyacin style into the depths of Florida at its most Floridian, a sun-soaked bastion of right-wing extremism, white power, greed, and corruption. And there we go with Fever Beach. Next, we've got The Man Made of Smoke, coming from Alex North. Dan Garvey's family life has been haunted by the crime he witnessed as a child, narrowly escaping an encounter with a notorious serial killer. He's dedicated his life to becoming a criminal profiler, eager to seek justice for the innocent victims. So when his father passes away under suspicious circumstances, Dan revisits his small island community, determined to uncover the truth about his death. Is it possible that the monster he remembers from his childhood nightmares has returned after all these years? We've got The Man Made of Smoke. Next, from Anthony Horowitz, we've got The Marble Hall Murders. It's out this week. Freelancing for a London publisher, editor Susan Ryland has been given the last job she wants, working on an Atticus Pund continuation novel called Pund's Last Case. Worse still, she knows the new writer, Elliot Crace, is the troubled grandson of legendary children's author Miriam Crace, who died 20 years ago. Elliot is convinced that she was poisoned. To her surprise, Susan enjoys reading the manuscript, which is set in the south of France and revolves around the mysterious death of Lady Margaret Chalfont, days before she was about to change her will. But when it's revealed that Lady Margaret was also poisoned, alarm bells begin to ring. The more Susan reads, the clearer it becomes that Elliot has deliberately concealed clues about his grandmother's death inside the book. So there we've got The Marble Hall Murders. Next, we've got The Doorman by Chris Pavoni. I interviewed Chris yesterday. I am crazy about this book. It is really interesting. It's a bets on selection. People are comparing it to other big works that talked about New York. And I think that that becomes a really interesting moment because we're sitting here in a very pivotal time. As Chris and I were discussing yesterday, New York used to be a city of the arts. It used to be a place where a lot of people came to do art. And now it's become more of a financial, everything's about money. Who's got the biggest apartment? Who's got a plane? Who's got this and that? And it's a lot of the tech overtones have come all over New York. So here we've got a story that's got a couple of main characters in it, but it really takes you inside the world that happens at this very famous apartment building. So we've got Chicky Diaz. He's everybody's favorite doorman at the Bohemia, the most famous apartment house in the world, the home of celebrities, financiers, and New York's cultural elite. Yeah, that would be the Dakota, in case you're trying to do some little bit of mind reading here. But gathered in the Bohemia's bowels, the building's almost entirely Black and Hispanic working class staff is taking in the news that just a few miles uptown, a Black man has been killed by the police, leading to a demonstration, a counter demonstration, and a long night of violence across the Tinderbox City. As Chicky changes into his uniform for tonight's shift, he finds himself breaking a cardinal rule of the job. Tonight he'll be carrying a gun, bought only hours earlier, but before he knew of the pandemonium taking over the city. Chicky knows there's more going on in this patch of sidewalk in front of the Bohemia than anyone's aware of. And typically, Chicky's the doorman. And what does he do? He gets cabs for people, or opens their Uber doors, or opens their black car doors, carries their packages. And Chicky is, while not completely based on, it's part of the inspiration for him came from a doorman that was at the Chris's building where they sat and had long conversations. Guy's name was Johnny, and they would talk about everything from baseball to what was going on in the city. And Chris really enjoyed talking to him, but he realized how different Johnny's world was from that of the people in the rest of the building. And there's a backstory on what happened with him that sort of inspired him that when he was thinking about a book to write something about the doorman, who's somebody who's at the front of the building. What does he know about everybody? And also, what is happening with people in a couple of floors inside that building? And he does such clever ways of telling this story. I highly recommend it. It also is another one of our Beth's Son word of mouth titles this week. So we'll be getting to that in a couple of minutes. Next from James Comey, and yes, it is that James Comey, Mr. FBI James Comey, FDR Drive. When he left the FBI, he went on and started working as a mystery writer, and he has had great fun doing this. This new book is coming from Mysterious Press. It's on sale next week. After a stint in the private sector, working at the largest hedge fund in the world, Nora Carlton has returned to her formal role as a New York City federal prosecutor. Threat is building in the city, with far-right extremism powered by the internet demagogues and funded by shadowy organizations. Together with legendary investigator Benny Dugan and aided by colleagues at the FBI, Nora builds a case against one of the key players in this burgeoning movement, arguing before a jury that some speech is actually a deadly crime. But the menace taking root is far bigger than any courtroom, and as the militants target an upcoming United Nations rally, Nora and her team must race to disrupt the plans and minimize the casualties. So we've got FDR Drive. Next from Dean Koontz, we've got Going Home in the Dark. As kids, outcast Rebecca, Bobby, Spencer, and Ernie were inseparable friends in the idyllic town of Maple Grove. Three left to pursue lofty dreams and achieve them. Only Ernie never left. When he falls into a coma, his three amigos feel an urgent need to return home. After 2 decades, not a lot has changed in Maple Grove, especially Ernie's obnoxious, scary mother. But they begin to remember a hulking, murderous figure and weirdness piled on mystery that they were made to forget. As Ernie sinks deeper into darkness, something strange awaits any friend who tries to save him. For Rebecca, Bobby, and Spencer, time's running out to remember the terrors of the past in a perfect town where nothing is as it seems. There you go. Next, we've got The Last Ferry Out by Andrea Bartz, also on sale next week. When Abby sets foot on Isla Hotel, she is not sure what she'll find. She only knows that she needs to see the place where her fiancé Esther died to try and make sense of the tragic accident. Oh, though the island was once a bustling tourist hub, a hurricane has left a shell of its former self, with only a handful of residents remaining. Even the once daily ferry to the mainland now runs every week or so. There, Abby befriends a warring group of expats, but her sense of unease surges when one of them says that he knows the truth about Esther's final days. Before he can tell her more, though, he vanishes from the island. As her quest for the truth unearths dark secrets, shady paths, and a web of lies, Abby grows more and more determined than ever to find out what happened to the love of her life. Did you ever realize we probably should not go back to the places we were before that are harboring secrets? I just want to be sure that you're clear on that. Don't go back. Next, for Michael Connolly, we have Nightshade coming on May 20th. Los Angeles County Sheriff's Detective Stillwell has been exiled to a low-key post policing rustic Catalina Island after department politics drove him off a homicide desk on the mainland. While following up on the usual drunken disorderlies and petty thefts that come with his new territory, Detective Stillwell gets a report of a body weighed down at the bottom of the harbor, a Jane Doe identifiable at first only by a streak of purple dye in her hair. At the same time, a report of poaching on a protected reserve turns a case fraught with violence and danger as Stillwell digs into the shady past of an island bigwig. Crossing all lines of protocol and jurisdiction, Stillwell doggedly works both cases. Soon, his investigation uncovers closely guarded secrets and a dark heart to the serene island that was meant to be his escape from the evils of the big city. Once again, don't go back. Next, we've got Whistle from Linwood Barclay. And you know that I love Linwood's books. This was our summer reading title for the last 24 hours. I am reading this, and it is really so, so good. He's writing something that's edgier than what books he's written in the past. He's calling it a chiller, not a thriller. It's a paperback original. It's on sale next week. So let's see what happens. Annie Blunt has had an imaginably terrible year. First, her husband was killed in a tragic hit-and-run accident. Then one of her children's books that she's built her writing and illustrating career on ignited a major scandal. Desperate for a fresh start, she moves her son Charlie to a charming, quaint little town in upstate New York where they can begin to heal. But Annie's year is about to get worse because, oh yes, Linwood can make that year worse for his characters. Bored and lonely in their isolated new surroundings, Charlie is thrilled when he finds a forgotten train set in a locked shed on their property. But there's something unsettling about his new toy. Strange sounds wake Annie in the night, and she could swear she hears a train, but there isn't an active train track for miles, and bizarre things start happening in the neighborhood. Annie can't seem to stop drawing a disturbing new character that has no place in a children's book. And that's just some of what happens in Whistle. I have about, I say like a tenth left to go, and I'm trying to see like, how is this one going to wrap up? Oh, and of course, there's a policeman who's super smart there. Stephen King loves this book. It's gotten great reviews along the way, and I think I'm really looking forward to hearing what readers have to say about this as well, because it is more of a chiller. Next, from Robert Dugoni, we've got A Dead Draw. It's coming on May 27th. It's back in his Tracy Crosswhite series. Tracy's back, and she's not one to lose her cool until her interrogation of the taunting and malicious Eric Schmidt, a suspect in 2 cold case killings. Schmidt also has unnerving ties to a monster who murdered Tracy's sister, stirring memories of the crime that shaped Tracy's life. After a critical mistake during a shooting exercise, Tracy breaks. Haunted by nightmares and flashbacks, Tracy heads to her hometown of Cedar Grove to refocus. Just a peaceful getaway with her husband, her daughter, and their nanny at their weekend house. But Tracy's sleepless nights are only the beginning. A legal glitch has allowed Schmidt to go free, and Tracy has every reason to fear he's followed her. Forced into a twisted game of cat and mouse, Tracy must draw on her own training, wits, and strength to defeat a master criminal before he takes away everyone Tracy loves. So there we've got A Dead Draw. Next, from Stephen King, we've got Never Flinch, coming on May 27th. When the Buckeye City Police Department receives a disturbing letter from a person threatening to kill 13 innocents and 1 guilty in an act of atonement for the needless death of an innocent man, Detective Izzy James has no idea what to think. Are 14 citizens about to be slaughtered in an unhinged act of rebellion? As the investigation unfolds, Izzy realizes that the letter writer is deadly serious, and she turns to her friend Holly Gibney for help. Meanwhile, controversial and outspoken women's rights activist Kate McKay is embarking on a multi-state lecture tour. Someone who vehemently opposes Kate's message of female empowerment is targeting her and is disrupting her events. At first, no one is hurt, but the stalker is growing bolder, and Holly is hired to be Kate's bodyguard, challenging tasks with a headstrong employer and a determined adversary driven by wrath and his belief in his own righteousness. So there you've got Never Flinch. Next, we've got The First Gentleman by Bill Clinton and James Patterson. It's coming on June 2nd. President of the United States is up for re-election. Her husband is on trial for murder. Is the first gentleman a killer? A pair of brilliant investigative journalists set out to answer the question, that burning question about the NFL's star-turned political spouse. First Gentleman has all the twists and turns and the authenticity one expects from #1 best-selling authors of The President is Missing and The President's Daughter. So now let's see what the First Gentleman has done. Next, we've got The Expat Affair by Kimberly Bell coming on June 3rd. Following a nasty divorce, Raina Dumont has come to Amsterdam for a fresh start. She's never been the type for a one-night stand, but this move is all about adventure, and Xander is handsome and successful and more than willing to go along for the ride. Till the morning after, when Raina finds him dead on the shower floor, millions of dollars worth of diamonds missing from his safe. From a lavish home in the heart of the city, Willow Prince is captivated by the news. Her husband is Xander's former boss, an heir to a diamond house, and the scandal strains their already rocky marriage. As the house comes under scrutiny, Willow wonders if her life is about to implode and how much of the blame she can place on Raina. Soon, Willow and Raina are dragged into the dark and dangerous underbelly of the diamond market, where they'll have to uncover this truth to survive. Next, from Julie Clark, we've got The Ghostwriter. Oh, this is so much fun. It's going to be a Book Reporter Beth's selection. It's one of our summer reading giveaway books, and it is also one of our going to be a talk to selection. I am going to be speaking with her, I think on June 10th, something like that. Okay, it's June 1975, and the Taylor family shatters in a single night when two teenage siblings are found dead in their home. The only surviving sibling, Vincent, never shakes the whispers and accusations that he was the one who killed them. Decades later, the legend only grows as a career as a horror writer skyrockets. Ghostwriter Olivia Dumont has spent her entire professional life hiding the fact that she is the only child of Vincent Taylor. And now on the brink of financial ruin, she's offered a job to ghostwrite her father's last book. What she doesn't know then is that this project is another one of his lies, because it's not another horror novel he wants her to write. After 50 years of silence, Vincent Taylor is finally ready to talk about what really happened that night in 1975, and readers are going to be surprised. Next, we've got What Kind of Paradise by Janelle Brown coming on June 3rd. Growing up in an isolated cabin in Montana in the mid-1990s, Jane knows only the world that she and her father live in, the wood stove that heats their home, the vegetable garden where they try to eke out a substance, the books of the 19th century philosophy that her father gives her to read in lieu of going to school. Father is elusive about their past, giving Jane little beyond the facts that once they lived in the Bay Area and their mother died in a car accident. As Jane becomes a teenager, she starts pushing against the boundaries of a restricted world. She begs to accompany her father on his occasional trips away from the cabin. But when Jane realizes that her devotion to her father has made her accomplice in a horrific crime, she flees Montana to the only place she knows to look for answers about her mysterious past and her mother's death, San Francisco. Then we've got some memoirs, biographies, and other nonfiction, and we're going to start with Class Clown by Dave Barry. How does the son of a Presbyterian minister wind up winning a Pulitzer Prize for writing a wildly inaccurate newspaper column read by millions of people? Seriously. In Class Clown, Dave Barry takes us on a hilarious ride, starting with a childhood largely spent throwing rocks for entertainment. There was no internet, and preparing for nuclear war by hiding under a classroom desk. How many also remember being told that would save us? Okay. After literally getting elected class clown in high school, he went on to college where, as an English major, he read snippets of great literature when he was not busy playing in a rock band. It was the 60s, after all. So there is a Memoirs of a Professional Wise Ass. Next, from Richard Russo, we've got Life and Art, which is out this week. His new essays consider how life and art inform each other and how the stories we tell shape our understanding of the world around us. In the lives of others, Russo reflects on the implacable fact that writers use people, insisting what matters in the end is how and for what purpose. In Stiff Neck, he writes of the exasperatingly fault lines exposed within his own family as his wife's sister and her husband, proudly unvaccinated, developed COVID. In Triage, he details the terror of seeing his 7-year-old grandson in critical condition. And in Ghosts, he revisits Gloversville, the town that gave rise to the now legendary fictional town of North Bath, and confronts the specter of its richly populated past in its grossly present. There you go, Life and Art. Then we've got Mark Twain by Ron Chernow, and you know him as the author of Grant and Alexander Hamilton. Before he was Mark Twain, he was Samuel Langhorne Clemens. Born in 1835, a man who would become America's first and most influential literary celebrity, spent his childhood dreaming of piloting steamboats on the Mississippi. But when the Civil War interrupted his career on the river, the young Twain went west to the Nevada Territory and accepted a job at a local newspaper. It wasn't long before the former steamboat pilot from Missouri was recognized across the country for his literary brilliance, writing under a pen name that he would immortalize. In this richly nuanced portrait of Mark Twain, acclaimed biographer Ron Chernow brings his considerable powers to bear on a man who shamelessly fought fame and fortune and crafted his persona with meticulous care. Next, we've got The Warrior, Rafael Nadal and His Kingdom of Clay by Christopher Clarey. And this one is for our editorial director, Tom Donadio, who loves tennis. It's out this week. Mr. Clarey illuminates the skill and determination it took to accomplish Rafael Nadal's most mind-blowing achievement, 14 French Open titles. He has won big on tennis's many surfaces en route to becoming one of the greatest players of all time, securing 2 Wimbledon titles on grass and 4 U.S. Open titles on cushioned acrylic hard courts. But clay, the slowest and grittiest of the game's playgrounds, is where it all comes together best for his tactical skills, whipping topspin forehand and gladiatorial mindset. Clay is to Rafael Nadal what water is to Michael Phelps, which helps explain one of the most impressive individual sports achievements of the 21st century. Clarey draws on interviews over many years with Nadal and his team and with rivals like Roger Federer. Not just a book about tennis, The Warrior draws on much wider lessons from Nadal's approach to competition. We expect that Tom Donadio will be completing a complete book report on this and running a discussion guide on it. So, Tom, I just hope you're ready. Next, we've got Maya Blue by Brenda Coffey. It's a memoir of survival. 21, Brenda Coffey surrendered herself to a marriage and became a woman who would do almost anything for her charismatic and powerful older husband, Philip Ray. Regardless of whether it was dangerous, adventurous, sexual, or legal, she wanted to be the one woman he couldn't live without. Brenda and Philip's life together was a fairy tale until it wasn't. Until Philip, the founder of 2 high-profile, groundbreaking public companies, began making real cocaine in their basement and became addicted. Till the big 6 tobacco companies threatened their lives for creating the first smokeless cigarette. Brenda coined the term vape and vaping, and brutal Guatemalan military commandos forced her into the jungle at gunpoint. Yes, she's had quite a life. I'll be doing an interview with Brenda in the next couple of weeks. Next, we've got The River's Daughter by Bridget Crocker. It is coming on June 3rd. After Bridget Crocker's parents' volatile divorce, she moved with her mother from Southern California to Wyoming. Life was idyllic, growing up in a trailer park on the banks of the Snake River with a stepfather she loved, a new baby brother, and the river as her companion, until her mother suddenly took up a radical new lifestyle. The one constant in her life, the place where Bridget felt whole and fully herself, was the river. When she discovered the world of whitewater rafting, she knew she'd found her calling. On the river, she learned to read the natural world around her and came to know the language of rivers. One of the first female guides on the Snake River, she then traveled to the Zambezi River in Africa, some of the most dangerous white water in the world, where she faced death and learned to conquer her fears, both on the water and off. Really sounds terrific. Now we've got some July titles for you to look forward to. We're going to start with The Satisfaction Cafe by Kathy Wang, which is coming out on July 1st. Joan Liang's life is a series of surprising developments. She never thought she would leave Taiwan for California, nor did she expect her first marriage to implode, especially as quickly and as spectacularly as it did. She definitely did not expect to fall in love with an older, wealthy American and become his fourth wife and mother to his youngest children. Through all this, she wrestles with one persistent question. Will she ever really truly feel satisfied? Joan and her children grow older and their circumstances evolve. She makes a drastic change and opens the Satisfaction Cafe, a place where people can visit for a bit of conversation and to be heard and understood. Through this radical yet pragmatic business, Joan constructs a lasting legacy. Next, from Meg Wade Clayton, we've got Typewriter Beach. It's 1957. Isabel Guerra is 10 months into a standard 7-year studio contract when she auditions with Alfred Hitchcock. Just weeks later, she's sequestered by the studio's fixer in a tiny Carmel cottage, waiting and dreading. Meanwhile, next door, Leon Chazan is annoyed when Iz interrupts his work on yet another screenplay he won't be able to sell because he's been blacklisted. Soon they're together in his roadster, speeding down the fog-shrouded Big Sur coast. In 2018, 26-year-old screenwriter Gemma Chazan in Caramel to sell over her grandfather's cottage finds a hidden safe full of secrets, raising questions about who the screenwriter known simply as Chazan really was, and if she can live up to his name. Next, we've got Culpability by Bruce Holsinger. This was originally an October book that was moved this morning, and we updated our presentation. When Cassidy Shaw's autonomous minivan collides with an oncoming car, a 17-year-old Charlie is in the driver's seat with his father Noah riding shotgun. In the back seat, tweens Alice and Izzy are on their phones while their mother Lorelei, a world leader in the field of artificial intelligence, is absorbed in her work. Yet each family member harbors a secret implicating each of them in the accident. During a week-long recuperation on the Chesapeake Bay, the family confronts the excruciating moral dilemmas triggered by the crash. Noah tries to hold the family together as a seemingly routine police investigation jeopardizes Charlie's future. Alice and Izzy turn strangely furtive, and Lorelei's odd behavior tugs at Noah's suspicions that there's a darker truth beyond the incident. What was happening? Suspicions heightened by the sudden intrusion of Daniel Monet, a tech mogul whose mysterious history with Lorelei hints at betrayal. We've got Culpability. Next, we've got These Summer Storms by Sarah McLean. Is coming on July 8th. Alice Storm hasn't been welcome at her family's magnificent private island off the Rhode Island coast in 5 years. Not since she was cast out and built her life beyond the Storm name. Influence and their untold billions. But the shocking death of her larger-than-life father changes everything. Alice plans to keep her head down, pay her final respects, such as they are, and leave the minute the funeral is over. Unfortunately, father has other plans. The eccentric, manipulative patriarch left his family a final challenge, an inheritance game designed to upend their world. The rules are clear. Spend 1 week on the island, complete their assigned tasks, and receive the inheritance. But a whole week on Storm Island is no easy task for Alice. It'll be a miracle if she manages to escape unscathed. There we go, the summer storms. Next, from Adriana Triani, and yes, we all know her. We've got The View from Lake Como. As Taylor Jenkins Reid said, Adriana Triani never fails to sweep you away. So it's coming on July 8th. And Jess Capodimonte Barada is not Barada is not living the life of her dreams. She's not even close. In blue-collar West Cuomo, New Jersey, family comes first. Lisa, recently divorced from Bobby Belanskia, Jess moves into her parents' basement to hide and heal. Jess is the overlooked daughter who dutifully takes care of her parents, cooks Sunday dinner, puts herself last. Despite her role as a family handmaiden, she's also a talented draftswoman in the marble business run by her dapper Uncle Louie, who believes she can do anything once she invests in a better wardrobe. When the families endure an unexpected loss, the shock unearths long buried secrets that will force Jess to question her loyalty to those who she trusted the most. Fueled by her lost dreams, she takes fate into her own hands and escapes to her ancestral home, Carrara, Italy. So let's see what happens with Marble and Italy and this young woman here. Next, from Ruth Ware, we've got The Woman in Suite 11 from the woman who wrote The Woman in Cabin 10. When the invitation to attend the press opening of a luxury Swiss hotel owned by reclusive billionaire Marcus Liebman arrives, it's like the answer to a prayer. 3 years after the birth of her youngest child, Lo Blacklock is ready to reestablish her journalism career. The chateau on the shores of Lake Geneva is everything Lo ever dreamed of, and she hopes she can snag an interview with Marcus. Fortunately, he proves to be even more difficult to pin down than his reputation suggests. And when Lo gets a late night call asking her to come to Marcus's hotel room, she agrees, despite her misgivings. She's greeted, however, by a woman claiming to be Marcus's mistress and in life or death jeopardy. What follows is a thrilling cat and mouse pursuit across Europe, forcing Lo to ask herself just how much she's willing to sacrifice to save this woman, or if she can even trust her. So there we've got The Woman in Suite 11. From Daniel Silva, we've got An Inside Job coming on July 15th. Gabriel Lone has been awarded a commission to restore one of the most important paintings in Venice. But when he discovers the body of a mysterious woman floating in the waters of the Venetian lagoon, he finds himself in a desperate race to recover a lost masterpiece by Leonardo da Vinci. The painting, a portrait of a beautiful young girl, has been gathering dust in the storeroom at the Vatican museums for more than a century, misattributed and hidden beneath a worthless picture by an unknown artist. Because no one knows that Leonardo is there, no one notices when it disappears one night during a suspicious power outage. No one but the ruthless mobsters and moneymen behind the theft and the mysterious woman whom Gabriel found in a watery grave in Venice, a woman without a name, a woman without a face. And there's The Inside Job. Next, from Jamie Day, we've got The Lake Escape. This is coming on July 15th. Will this be the best week of their lives or the last? Julie, David, and Erica grew up together, spending summers on their idyllic Vermont lake homes for as long as they can remember. And now adults, the three friends have amassed secrets over the years. This summer, David is eager to show off his newly renovated home, which now blocks his friends' cherished lake views, and his much younger girlfriend. He also, unwittingly, yes, brings a nanny with a hidden agenda. When David's girlfriend mysteriously vanishes after a shouting match, Julia and Erica wonder just how well they know their lifelong friend. The lake harbors a harrowing past. Two young women with no known connection vanished without a trace 30 years ago. Did the lake take another? As searches mounted, an intricate web of lies, deceits, and betrayals spanning generations starts to surface, and everyone finds themselves in danger of becoming the next victim. By the author of The Block Party, which I loved. Next, from Lisa Scottini, we have The Unraveling of Julia coming on July 15th, and there'll also be a summer reading contest for this one. Julia Pritzker has lost her adoptive parents, and her husband has been murdered. She realized that her horoscope essentially foretold his death. She begins to spiral. And then a letter arrives out of the blue informing her that she's inherited a Tuscan villa and vineyard. But her benefactor is a total stranger named Amelia Rossi. Julia has no information about her biological family, so she wonders if Rossi could be a blood relative. Bewildered, she heads to Tuscany for answers. And there, Julia is horrified to discover that Rossi was a paranoid recluse with delusions of grandeur who believed herself to be a descendant of Duchess Caterina Sforza, a legendary Renaissance ruler. Julia is stunned by her uncanny resemblance to Rossi and even to Katharina. Then she unearths eerie parallels between them, including an obsession with astrology. Before long, Julia suspects that she's being followed, and strange things begin to happen. And when events turn deadly, she breaks with reality. So there we've got psychological thriller, The Unraveling of Julia. Next from Susan Wiggs, we've got Wayward Girls coming on July 15th. 1968, we meet 16s combined at the Good Shepherd, a dark and secretive institution controlled by the Sisters of Charity nuns, locked away for merely being gay, pregnant, or simply unruly. They include Marine, the free-spirited daughter of Irish immigrants, committed to keep her safe from her stepfather; Angela, who was denounced for her attraction to girls and was sent to the nuns to reform, but instead she found herself the victim of a predator; Helen, the daughter of intellectuals detained in communist China, who saw her temporary stay at the Good Shepherd stretch into years; Odessa, who was caught up in a police dragnet over a racial incident, but she found the physical and mental toughness to endure her sentence; Denise, who was sentenced for brawling in a foster home and dared to dream of a better life; and Janice, who couldn't decide where her loyalties lied, except when it came to her friend Kay, who would never outgrow her childhood dependency. So there we've got the Wayward Girls. Next from Steve Berry, we've got The List, and it's a different book for Steve. He's going back and he is writing a legal thriller. After 10 years of self-imposed exile, Brent Walker is returning home to Concord, a quaint town in central Georgia, nestled close to the Savannah River. 2 years ago, his father died, and now Brent, hired by Southern Republic Pulp and Paper Company as its assistant general counsel, is returning care for his ailing mother. Southern Republic's success is based largely on a highly unorthodox and deadly system to control costs, known only to the three owners of the company. Now one of them, Christopher Boson, has a change of heart. Brett's return to Concord, a move Boson personally orchestrated, provides his conscience with a chance at redemption. So a plan is set in place that not only will criminally implicate Boson's two partners, but will also place Brent square in the crosshairs of men who want him dead, with only one course left available. So there you've got The List. And we've got from Karen White, That Last Carolina Summer, another summer reading giveaway book title. It's coming on July 22nd. As a child, Phoebe Manigault developed the gift of premonition after she was struck by lightning in the creek near her Charleston home. Plagued throughout her life by mysterious dreams and always living in the shadows of her beloved sister Addie, Phoebe eventually moves to the West Coast, as far from her family as possible. Now, years later, she's summoned back to South Carolina to help Addie take care of their ailing mother. I should have used the word summoned as the one that's going to be happening in this book, because everybody's getting summoned to a place, if you notice that. Phoebe's return lures her back into the deep-rooted tensions and conflicts. She's drawn towards Celeste, whose granddaughter went missing years ago. Their connection, woven through shared losses and hope, brings comfort to Phoebe, while Celeste's adult grandson, Liam, resurrects complicated emotions tied to Phoebe's past. The longer Phoebe spends in her childhood home and the more her recurring nightmares intensify, bringing her closer to the shocking truth that irrevocably will change everything. So there's Karen White's latest. Sherry LaPena, we've got She Didn't See It Coming. And longtime readers know that I call Sherry my one-sit read. I sit down to reading it. I don't get up until I'm finished. Bryden and Sam have it all: thriving careers, a smart apartment in a luxury condo, supportive friends, and a cherished daughter. And then Sam receives a call at his office. Bryden, who is working from home that day, has failed to collect their daughter from daycare. Arriving home with their little girl, he finds his wife's car in the underground garage. Upstairs in the apartment, her laptop is open, her cell phone is nearby, and her keys are in the usual place in the hall. She's nowhere to be seen. It's as if she walked out. How can she have disappeared from her own home? And did she ever leave the building at all? So let's see. Didn't see it coming. Next, we've got You Belong Here by Megan Miranda, coming on July 29th. Beckett Bowery never thought she'd return to Wyatt Valley, a picturesque college town in the Virginia mountains, steeped in tradition. Her roots there were strong. Beckett's parents taught at the college, and she never even imagined studying anywhere else. until a tragedy her senior year ended with two local men dead and a roommate on the run, never to be seen again. For the last 2 decades, Beckett has done her best to keep her distance. And then her daughter Delilah secretly applies to Wyatt College and earns a full scholarship. And Beckett can only hope that her lingering fears are unfounded. But deep down, she knows that Wyatt Valley has had a long memory and that the past is the only dangerous thing in town. So there is You Belong Here. And this is also going to be a summer title giveaway. Next, we've got notable paperback releases this month. Covenant of Water by Abraham Verghese, Linwood Barclay's I Will Ruin You, Lisa Foley's The Midnight Feast, The Next Mrs. Parrish by Liv Constantine, The Rom-Commers by Catherine Senner, Anne Hood's The Stolen Child, The Year of Living Constitutionally by A.J. Jacobs, Lies and Weddings by Kevin Kwan, Long Island Compromise by Taffy Protestant Ackner, Middle of the Night by Riley Sager, James Lee Burke's Cleat, and How the Light Gets In by Joyce Maynard. I've made 16 bets on selections so far, and there are 5 that are coming up. So we will be at 21. Yes, I can still do math even at this hour of the day. And enjoyed each of these books, and I hope that you will as well. These are the recent Talks to videos and podcasts that we've done. Talked to Nita Prose about The Maid's Secret, talked to Katie Hayes about Saltwater, and I think I have 5 interviews lined up for the next couple of weeks. Summer reading. These are our titles that we'll be giving away. Our next title will be noted on Tuesday, May 20th. It's going to go up at noon, and it will be Just Beachy by Wendy Wax. So keep your eyes out for that contest. Remember, they're only open for 24 hours. And remember, I was talking about our word of mouth contest. Tell us what you read. Look how beautifully these two covers go together. And we didn't plan it for that reason. But the doorman that I'm crazy about, and Speak to Me of Home that I'm also crazy about. Hey, these are going to be 2 bets on titles, and you can win them now. What you have to do is you go out to word of mouth feature on our site. You've got to tell us what you're reading. How hard is that? Give it a number of stars. How hard is that? Just make sure you spell correctly, please, so Melanie Steinberg doesn't go crazy when she's editing this for us. Okay, you got to do this by Friday, May 23rd at noon. Then you're entered to win a contest, and boom, when we come back on Tuesday for Memorial Day weekend, Francesca's going to have contest winners picked. Books will go out. I mean, how lucky can you get? 2 bets ons from me coming that quickly. Just got to enter, got to tell us what you're reading and word of mouth. Next, we've got our next Bookaccino live event, and oh, this is going to be fun. It's Husbands and Lovers by Beatrice Williams. It's now out in paperback, so anybody who hasn't read it, you've got a couple weeks. Buckle down. Let's get going. She's joining us in 2 weeks on Wednesday, May 28th to discuss the book. Beatrice, I always know, is a lot of fun. I interviewed her last year, and she's always great to talk to. So we'll be discussing Husbands and Lovers. You want to read, remember, this is the kind of book club that we expect that you've read the book. Okay, that kind of book club. Our next Bookaccino Live book preview event will be books from June 10th through July 1st and a peek ahead at August. How could it be talking August already? This is going to be happening on Wednesday, June 11th at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And we hope to see many of you there for that. And as I always say, we look forward to seeing you next time on Bookaccino Live.